So you were doing that, and then I think from our very first conversation too, you had at least been, um, I think dabbling is not doing you quite the justice. I mean, in terms of you were a pretty early adopter, kind of in the whole crypto world, and you and I had been talking about some of the stuff you were doing in
Yeah.
terms of mining and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What got you into? I guess what you got into that in the first place, and then how did that lead you to Figment?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those funny stories where, I said earlier that there was no plan to another startup, and actually it was not the plan. And so, but it's funny how when you make plans, life has a way of laughing at your plans. So I was, I was working and doing refactor recruiting, and I was very open about this with my partner Matt, but just basically saying like, hey, like there's a lot of potential in this space. In this specific conversation, that really kind of got me going, is a friend reached out to me, and the friend said, hey, guess what? Like you, I just had a baby, and hey, I want to upload and share the photos of my baby online. And I said, great. Click upload to any website. Why are you calling me? And they said, well, if I upload my photos on Facebook, they're going to do facial recognition on my baby's face and sell me diaper ads. If I send it to you in a Gmail message, they read the contents of my email to you. Where can I upload my data where I own it and I have a right to privacy online?
Yeah.
And this is a very simple question, and I hadn't really ever thought about the way the internet works. And it really set me back. And, I answered with a very technical answer. I said, stand up an FTP server. And they said, what's FTP? And it's because not something you'd say to most people. And so
Right.
I had a lot of time to think, and I didn't really know much about crypto and blockchain at the time, but I was just sort of thinking, okay, why do we communicate through these platforms which track us, surveil us, take our data and sell to other people, all that kind of stuff? Why don't we communicate through protocols? Such as like email itself. You can stand up an email server, Sean. I can stand up an email server. We can communicate directly. There's no one in between us. Yeah. Why doesn't the internet actually work like that today? Now it's sort of the question I asked myself. And just being kind of, after I got put on my heels a little bit with like, where can I safely upload my photos where no one's going to track me and I can have privacy? But that's kind of how I started spiraling. And it wasn't about crypto. It wasn't about blockchains. It was more about the structure of the internet. And so that's what I trained my mind on, is why don't we communicate more through protocols, like a lot of the early internet designs? And so I started looking for that. And then in 2017, I totally fell down the rabbit hole. That's when I heard about Ethereum, and I learned Solidity, and I started, I took a course and I started deploying smart contracts. And the thing I really convinced myself of was there was really only two blockchains that were doing interesting things, in my opinion, in 2017. It was Ethereum and Bitcoin. And but there was a lot of crappy clones. And I thought, like, if this is really the start of an industry and the start of actually something bigger, why aren't there hundreds of blockchains? Why isn't there a ton of people trying this out? I'm from Flint, Michigan, so we have a lot of history of automotive industry. In the beginning, there was many, many automotive manufacturers, not just the big few today. There was hundreds. Yeah. And so how do we do that for blockchain? That's what I started asking myself. So I was looking for protocols. I found these blockchain things, and then I said, how do we go from 2 to hundreds? And that's what I started looking for. And so then I found a technology which had been theorized and sort of tried a few times, called proof of stake. It's not important that everyone knows what that is yet, but just to say it's an enabling technology that I thought could help hundreds of new blockchains launch. They'd all be very different from each other. And this is how we get this sort of explosion of new approaches. And so we took a bet, and we said, in the future, most blockchains will use this technology. Let's get really good at it. And so what that meant, and this is one of the key lessons I have for people today, is like, we didn't go and think about it and read a bunch of white papers. We said, here's our first approach. We're going to become the VCs that invest in all these new blockchains. Figment Capital was born, and it totally failed. Meaning, I said, here's the thesis. We're going to invest in all these new blockchains. Here they come. But no one wanted to buy. There were no LPs for that venture. And so I did some angel investments, and that was great. But the LP said, hey, like, if there's going to be all these new blockchains, how's the infrastructure going to run? What's that going to look like? And so we changed the name of the company to Figment Networks and became an operating company, not a VC at all. And that is really what ended up taking off. I can get into more details there, but that's kind of how we got to where we were, with the basic thesis that there should be a lot more blockchains trying a lot of new things. If we have this experimentation at the infrastructure level, then maybe more killer apps can emerge.